So, unless you've been completely detached from the anime community recently, you've probably all heard of this brand new anime that just started airing, at least at the time of me making this video, called Oshi no Ko, which just launched with one of probably the best episode ones we have ever seen in the entirety of like anime history. In fact, it was literally an hour and 22-minute episode, which is just insane. And if it's not obvious, that's exactly what I want to talk about today. Now, the thing is, this is a show, at least based off this first episode already, that you really can't talk about without spoiling it. So, basically, this is your warning. This video is going to be very, very, very spoiler heavy, all in regards to episode 1. So, if you're watching this in the future, don't worry. Episodes 2 and after will not be spoiled here. This is just an episode 1, like, recap review, my thoughts, everything, because oh my god, was it amazing. So you've been warned. Please go watch episode 1 if you don't want to be spoiled. That's your last warning, and let's get on to the main part of the video. Where do you even begin to start to talk about this episode? Oh my god, if you've watched it, you probably are going through the exact same thoughts and emotions I'm going through right now. I mean, Doga Kobo basically just left us with one of the best first episodes that we've ever seen in all of anime history, and I don't even know where to start to talk about this. I have a ton I want to say about this. So, I mean, let's just say right off the bat, we can tell that this is not what it seems whatsoever. Throw all those happy-go-lucky idol like vibes out the window. This show is not what it seems at all. I mean, it doesn't even take long before I is out here literally just ranting lies, 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 lies. And that is basically, from what I've seen, a theme of this entire episode, and I'm sure it might even be a theme of the show going forward. That basically, a lot of life is lies. What you see in life is not always what is actually going on. You know, basically her whole view of, the show business, performing and stuff, it's not actually the actual person. They're just basically playing a character and, trying to appeal the general population, which is resulting in her, pretty much lying to herself constantly, day in, day out, about who she really is. And I know this is a super deep topic to go into right off the bat, but it's not far into the episode when she's already basically saying lies, 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 that she has little to no family, she's not living the best life, yet, her idol performances make it seem like, she's living the best life when behind the scenes she really isn't. And I know I'm getting really deep right off the bat, but it almost really makes you wonder how much of life does this actually like stand true for? Like how much of things in life are actually just performances, acting, not actually people being genuine. Because it's honestly not often that anime really make me actually question myself or question the real world, and this anime had me questioning the real world within the first 10 to 15 minutes. Like, because I really feel like this is a theme that probably is actually out there a lot more than you really think, which I don't know how you want to view that, but it's really interesting to say the least. As much as I would love to rant about that forever, because that whole theme is really interesting, and Ai's whole secret life behind the idol business, there was a lot more to talk about in this show. And kind of going chronologically in a way through this episode, the next big idea this show, shows is basically this whole idea of reincarnation. And we actually got, a more interesting type of reincarnation than being reincarnated into another fantasy world. I mean, we have the Doctor, as I'm sure you all know of, who unfortunately got murdered on the day of Ai's, you know, delivery. I don't know why it took me so long to say that. And he was reincarnated into one of the two twins. And the other girl, which, I mean, they didn't technically figure out who's who yet, but it was showed in the episode, so it's fine to say. We found out the other girl is Sarina, the girl that he was treating in the hospital, which I also wanted to touch on because that's just another prime example of the world is not all as, happy as people make it out to be. Even before we like learned about Ai's backstory, we get immediately thrown in the face by Sarina, a 12-year-old girl literally on her deathbed, just living her last moments enjoying Ai, and it's so sweet. And I'll be honest, I think my biggest reaction of the whole episode was when Ruby jumped out of the bed for the first time and started talking, because I was like, oh my god, I don't know why. It just immediately hit me that I'm like, I'm 99% sure Ruby's Sarina, and within the next 10 to 20 minutes, we found out that's exactly who she actually is. I mean, there's not too much to go on about the reincarnation thing. It's just, nice actually getting a different type of reincarnation story than being reincarnated into another world. But the characters, being reincarnated as Ai's kids themselves, allows us to actually see deeper into, this whole like hidden, personality of Ai. It's not necessarily hidden per se, but she just never shows it to the general public. And, without these kids, we wouldn't really be able to see that because, again, they're the main focus of the story more than Ai herself, even though it seemed like I was the main focus of it. So, yeah, I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but I think you get what I mean by that. Oh, yeah, and just reading over my random things I wrote down again because, yeah, I mean, this is a lot to talk about. Um, we even had moments where even Ruby and Aqua themselves literally noticed how depressed their mom was getting. Like, that this idol business is not all as happy as it seems to be. Again, a reoccurring theme from this whole episode, and I'm sure the whole show going forward. Again, life is not as happy as it seems. A lot of people are more upset and depressed than it seems. A lot of people put on acts to make themselves seem happier than they really are. And again, it really makes you wonder how many people in the real world are actually out there doing this. But I've touched enough on this. Let's try to move on a little bit now. So for a good amount of the episode, I feel like there's nothing too big that really happens. I mean, we meet a bunch of new characters. Aqua and Ai get casted into a movie, which is the jump start of the whole, Ai becoming big and blowing up thing, which eventually leads to something I'm going to touch on shortly. But I don't think there's really anything too big to happen in this whole gap that I really want to touch on, or at least that I remember off the top of my head. I'll probably remember something after I'm done recording this. But, you know, and again, we just see more and more of how dark and how, depressing this lifestyle can actually be. I mean, we see, you know, the kids going to see I for the first time in person, I getting completely like taken over by all these hate comments of her. I mean, what else is there even to mention? Then again, I don't know. Feel free to comment down below if I missed anything important. But from what I can remember, throughout the whole middle of the episode, it was still really interesting. But there wasn't really anything like huge that I think needs to be touched on too much. It was just Aqua even kind of getting into some acting. Them starting to grow up a little bit more, and mainly just I getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until what I'm about to talk about happens. And you know what? Let's get into that. So yeah, the moment you've all been waiting for. That moment. Yeah, so basically, one day I gets the idea, why, I don't know, to meet up with her ex. And instead of her ex, that same stalker that killed the doctor in the beginning, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, shows up and opens the door and instantly stabs Ai in, quite honestly, what was a really, really well done scene. I mean, you could say this for the entire episode. So much of it was really well done. And it leads into a few minute, what do you call it, a monologue of I basically just saying a lot of what we've heard already about the lies and all that. But like, it's just beautiful. There's no other way to put it, really. I mean, with her life slowly dwindling away, she really had nothing to hide anymore, and she just completely comes out to this guy saying, how much of her life is a lie, how much she's just been lying to, put on an act to please everyone. And I think it really gets to the guy because after a while, it makes him run off, and we find out later he killed himself too. And I don't even think I could really fully go into detail on like everything she said. Just she basically, a lot of what she said, I think there is stuff I've already gone over. I'm sorry, I don't remember the entire speech off memory, but the best part of this, obviously, is what's to come when she interacts with her kids. Now, again, obviously, she's been saying I love you, I love you, I love you to everyone in her life forever now. All lies, never once did she actually seriously mean and I love you. And she's really starting to realize now in this moment how much she truly values her kids and wants to see them grow up and succeed in life. And in probably, like I said, easily the best scene of the entire episode, she finally manages to squeeze out an I love you one last time before she dies, and even just like claims that this is completely 100% genuine love for, I think, the first time in her entire life that she's actually meant it, right as she, fades out. And what is there even to say about that? That scene was done beautifully. The visuals on it were beautifully. Again, I don't know why I said fading out, but that's almost in a way what happened. Um, it's just beautiful. That scene was done amazing, and I don't even know what to say about it. There's really no words for it other than it's just beautiful. It was done amazing. Doga Kobo literally nailed this adaptation. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This scene was amazing. And that's not all, because the show just loves to touch on how screwed up the world is. In this, right around this time, we basically got two more big things that show that. One was the stalker itself who came the killer, and basically this just shows how, crazy people can get over their favorite Oshis, which is just, it's insane. And if you're uncultured and don't know what Oshi means, it basically just means like a talent or an idol or like a VTuber, anything like that you look up to, which I would assume is obviously where the title of the show comes from. And also, if you're wondering, Ko means kid, I believe, so put that together. Oshi, kid. Yeah. Anyways, your mini Japanese lesson for the day is done, but this just really shows how serious people and how, like, people get attached to their Oshis, and, like, literally, basically what happens is people form these like bonds with them, and they think that they're like best friends. People go absolutely mental when their Oshi actually does something, and I'm would like to hope that this is not what it usually results as, and that there's not many people out there who are like this. But the sad truth is there are probably people out there in the world who get like this over things like this, which is just really like messed up to think about. But people are like this, and people take their Oshis that they value really seriously, and if they even do anything such as get a boyfriend, have kids, anything like this, they think they're betraying them, and they will go mental like this, or they will get depressed, or all sorts of things, which sadly is a problem that you don't think about, but it exists out there, and this show just basically showed it with this scene. And if that wasn't already messed up enough, right after that we see the whole reaction. Now, some of this I do think is a bit genuine. You have, the whole crowd, like, everyone's, like, all, like, it's, like, big news for, like, the first, like, 2-3 days, and then after that, it just kind of complete fades out, which, the sad truth is, that's exactly how everything goes. I mean, there's been enough big names who've, even died recently, and I guarantee you a lot of the names and a lot of the, like, news kind of faded out after a few days. So, and obviously, as well, if it's someone you don't really care about much, I can understand if you don't have much feelings towards it. And that's not, in my opinion, a problem. That's just a natural instinct. The other problem here that the show touches on is when, I believe it was Ruby and Aqua looking through the comments, I could be wrong, but we were getting a huge list of comments. Pretty much hate comments, like trolling comments, laughing comments, etc., in regards to Ai's death. Now, I can understand if you weren't a fan of Ai, if Ai was not your favorite. But what's messed up is, obviously, the people who feel like they should comment all these unnecessary things in regards to a really special person's death, and joke about it, say like, I didn't like her anyway, blah blah blah, and so on, which again, sadly, is definitely something that exists in this world. But in my opinion, if it's someone you don't care about, just stay quiet about it. Go on with your daily life. You do not need to put out negativity out there. But again, the show is touching on a lot of, the dark things about the real world, and this is yet another one of those things. and I definitely think it's worth mentioning because I just love how much it just shows how harsh the world can really be. So I knew I had a lot to talk about. This video's already gone for quite a while, and I think that's about everything I wanted to talk about. I mean, there's so much to happen in this episode, so much. I could easily talk for another half hour about this, but I think I'm going to wrap it up here because I've already touched on a lot. I'm sure most of you here have already watched the whole thing, are probably having the same reactions I am. This was like a masterpiece episode on all levels, and I cannot wait to see what's to come because it already feels like the show's peaked, and I think from all I've seen as manga readers say, it just keeps getting better, and I don't know how this show is going to get better than it already has. Again, I guess the main points to take away from this, I feel like, is this show goes really far into the dark truths of the world, and that, you know, not everything is as it seems, are basically the main themes to take away from this. On top of, obviously, the amazing plot twists, etc. Like, it was just a masterpiece first episode in general, and I'm so happy to watch this. I've been hyped for this show for months now from how much manga readers say stuff about it. Like, and I was not disappointed one bit. So if you've actually sat through all my ranting made to the end of this video, thank you. I absolutely love this premiere, and I'm so happy I get to witness this. And I can't wait to watch the rest of these episodes. So I really hope you enjoyed, you know, my overview of the whole episode 1. And, you know, if you enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe and all that stuff. And if not, it doesn't matter. You know, just go on with your life. Don't spread hate comments like they did in this show. But anyways, that's about it from me, I think. And I'll see you all next time.